Hi everyone, this video is the third part of our video tutorial series where we are creating and cold calling AI sales agent which can help businesses in their initial sales process. At the end of this video, you will be able to create your own AI sales agent which would take both inbound and outbound calls from your potential customers. Take a look at the demo. Now I'm just going to hit send again. Yeah, I should get call, and there you go. I'm getting the call from the Twilios. I'll just accept it.
You have a trial account. You can remove this message at any time by
okay, so this is because I have a trial account.
any key to execute your
so I'll just hit a key.
Hello, Abhijit. This is Sally from Know Together. I see that your company specializes in AI-powered WordPress plugins. I believe we can help streamline your business processes through AI automation. Would you be interested in learning more about our services?
Yeah, sure. I'll be interested.
That's great to hear. Let's schedule a meeting to discuss how our AI automation services can benefit your business. Can you please provide me with your availability so we can set up a meeting through Calendly?
Yeah, I'm free tomorrow.
Great. I'll send you a Calendly link to schedule a meeting for tomorrow. Looking forward to our discussion.
Great, thank you. Bye. Just think about it. If you're looking for a product or service online, and let's say you end up in a potential business website and you fill up all the form, and then if the company takes days to call you back, you would have probably bought that product or service before even they would call you, isn't it? So that means businesses needs faster solution, and their initial sales process can be automated using AI, and that's what we are going to create in this video completely from the scratch using Python. Now let's take a brief look to our design. If you have straight landed into this video, we have already discussed this design in greater details in the part 1 of this series. Use the video link on your right top to see that first. And then in the second part, we have also already created an AI sales agent, and we have also set up an STT server and made a both-way communicating AI sales agent in the part 2. Again, click the right top link and make sure to watch that as well. Now, I am not going to go into a lot of details here in this diagram. The only thing that I want to mention here is that many of you have raised concerns that you are not able to run the STT server in your local because you do not have a GPU PC. And I think I have a good news for you. As part of this video, what we are trying to do is we are trying to integrate our AI sales agent with Twilio service to make the call to your potential customer's phone number, right? Now, what I have found out is that the Twilio itself provides the STT and TTS service as part of its product features. So we do not need to run any STT server in our local, and that's what you will see when we will create our code. So if you're ready, let's dive in and go into my VS Code terminal and start creating the agent. Now, before I go into my VS Code editor, I just want to remind you that here what we are trying to do is make our AI sales agent talk with the Twilio API and vice versa, so that whenever user fills up the form in the website and hit the contact us button or similar button, then that call should come to the AI sales agent, and then AI sales agent can actually call and make the communication with your potential customer through the Twilio API. Now, in the part 2 of our series, we have created the AI sales agent, but that was only running in our local system, right? But here what we have to do is we have to make the AI sales agent available through API so that Twilio can make communication whenever it needs. Now, with that said, I have came into my VS Code editor, and I'm going to create a file first, and let's create the file. So we created a file called Twilio AI sales agent.py, and this is where we will create the code. So first thing first, as I said, we need to create this agent available through API. That's why we would import the Flask. So we have now imported the Flask module, and we are going to use the Flask to create our app, which should be available through API. Now, what I have done is I have followed this documentation from Twilio website to understand how the connection would work, how to call Twilio API and everything else. I will attach the link in the description of this video so you can check out these documents. The first thing first that we need to do is to import the Twilio ML library to be able to use the Twilio APIs. And Twilio also provide a REST client, so you will also import that. And finally, we would just import our OpenAI module because this is an AI sales agent, so basically all our response will be through OpenAI APIs, right? Now first we will initiate our Flask application. This is the very essential step that we need to do to make sure that our AI sales agent is available through Flask APIs. Now the next thing that you need to do is you need to come to Twilio website and you need to do a registration. So because I have already registered here, I have already logged in. Now you can see that I have already got like 2.8 pound worth of trial account balance. So whenever you register first time, I think you are going to get around 5 pound of free usage or credit that you can use to create this kind of demo. And when you're ready, you can probably just upgrade and make use of the Twilio API for your production application. Now here below, you will see your account SID and auth token. And you also need to enable your Twilio phone number. That you can easily do it. If you need any help regarding that, let me know. But there are plenty other YouTube videos available which will help you show how to create a Twilio phone number. So make sure you create a phone number, because this is the phone number that your AI sales agent is going to use when it will make the call. Okay, now that everything is set up, what we are going to do, we are going to set our SID and auth token, as I have copied it from the Twilio console. We'll also now create the OpenAI API key. This will be used by the AI sales agent. And finally, I will set the from number, which is the number that you have seen in the portal, in the Twilio portal. So this is the number that the AI sales agent will use, as I said before. And then finally, we will create the client, which is using the Twilio REST client. And here we will pass the SID and auth token. Now, for your production application, I don't recommend to hard code it. Rather, you can use env file or some other dynamic approach. But for now, I'm just going to hard code it to explain it better to you. Now, as I said, this AI sales agent will be available through API. So we will create the required functions or the API route. So the first route that we need is for start call. So this is the route which the AI sales agent will use to make the call using the Twilio API. Again, going back to the diagram, a potential customer would fill up their name, their phone number, and their business use case here in the form. So ideally, when they will submit it, that call should come to the AI sales agent to initiate the call, right? So that is why the method is post. We will extract the JSON data sent with the post request, such as customer name, contact number, and customer business requirement. So we will extract it first. How we would extract it? Extract the data from request.json, because the request to this API will come through JSON. And then we will extract the customer name as from customer name JSON input, same for phone number and same for the business details. Now what your AI sales agent would do here is, based on the information provided, it should make a call to the customer through Twilio API and present itself or introduce itself. So that is what we will add a comment that use the extracted data to process the initial message. So what we will do here is we'll use a function which we will define later. And in the function, we will send the customer name and the business details. So the expected output from this method is the initial message that when your AI sales agent will call to the customer, it will speak out. Now the response that will be played back over the Twilio API, we define it using the voice response class, which is provided by the Twilio ML library. Then what we are doing is we are passing the initial message that we will receive from this method. And for the voice, we will use poly.joanna. So basically, Elevenlabs provide a list of voices. There are basic voice, which is only available through your trial account, and there are standard voice and premium voice, which is chargeable, of course. But these are more, human-like output that you can use. Of course, you need to pay for that, but you can use these voices, and there are a list of voices that you can use. Here, I'll attach the link again for you to see what all voices that are available and what voices are in which category. Now, because I'm using the trial account, I'm going to use one of the basic voice. But as with any communication, next step is to gather the user input, right? So that is where what we will do. We will create another route and we will redirect the code to call that particular route, so that after the assistant say the initial message, it will wait and gather the user's input and further process it. So we will define it later. So we will say here to be defined later. And then finally, what we will do is we'll make the call to the Twilio API. We'll provide the customer phone number and the from number, and we will send the response that we have created here and make the REST API call. And of course, this is the URL and it needs to be a public URL. So this is a placeholder which we will create later. And then finally, we will return a message that the call is initiated, and then we will also attach the call SID or the system ID. Again, going back to the diagram, that means this response will be returned back to the calling application, which is the form here, or the N8NR, whichever route that we will take later. Okay, so now let's do one thing. Let's first define this process initial message method, and let's define our initial output. So we will come here and we will define the process initial message method, and we'll put some placeholder message there. We are going to define this later on. And I see another error here. So what we will do is define the app public event URL so that our error goes away. Okay, now the error is not there, which is good. Let's complete defining all the route that is required. Okay, let's define the second route. Now that the call is initiated, we need another API which will actually help to get the user response, right? So basically what will happen is Twilio will use this API to send the API response to us. we name it as gather, and it accepts both get and post. Actually, it will accept actually post, but for now I'm allowing both get and post. And basically what it is doing, it is gathering the customer speech input. Now how does it do so? First, again, like last time, we initiate the voice response, and then we say that gather the speech input, and then once it is gathered, we need to send that response to another function or another route to process that. And then the speech timeout, you can set auto or you can set 10 seconds. It is up to you to decide whether the user have stopped talking or user have stopped providing input. So if you set auto, then Twilio ML will use its automated timeout, which will be probably dynamic. But if you want to set a specific timeout, which is of 10 seconds or 5 seconds or 3 seconds, you can set it here. That means it will wait until 5 seconds, and if it doesn't get any response, that means then it will know that user have stopped providing the input. For the action, let me provide a route, but we will create the route in just a few minutes. It's not defined yet, but I'm just providing it here. So that means once the speech is collected, this function or this particular API will redirect to this API where the processing of the speech will happen. Of course, when the processing will be done, it will return a text response, and that response from process speech will be kept into the gather variable. So we are appending the response here. Now, one of the important other thing that we want to do here is if the customer doesn't respond, we want to loop back for a few times. Of course, you want to set how many times you want to loop back. That means if customer is not responding back, then you probably want the AI agent to again ask, can I please get your response, or I didn't get that, or something like that, right? So that's why you are calling the gather call once again. You can set how many times you want to set the loop, but for now I'm just keeping it simple. And now we will define the third route, which is the process speech that we are going to call here. Now in the process speech, what will happen is it will process the customer speech input and respond accordingly. So before we process the speech with AI, we need to get the speech input from the user, and that is where we use request.value.get speech result. This will get the speech output in a text format. You remember I said we do not need any transcribe server running in our local because Twilio ML library is doing it for us. So using this method, we will get the text output of whatever user have provided input in the call. And now once we have had the speech result ready, we can then use AI to generate the response. I am so sorry to break your attention here. As you know, creating this kind of content takes a lot of effort, time, and cost. Just to help support the channel, I have created 2 Patreon membership that you can now subscribe to and help the channel grow. And thank you for watching so far. Let's continue with the tutorial. Now again, just like last time, we are going to create another method called process message, and we'll provide the speech result here. And based on this speech result, AI will generate the output, and then we will again send back the output to the user to make the communication just like an human communication. So for that reason, we will again initiate the voice response module, and then we are going to again call the same response.say, and this time we'll provide this response that we will get from the AI or the OpenAI output. Again, we are going to use the same voice poly.joanna. Now, what we want to do is we do not want to end the conversation here, right? There, because the conversation could be multi-step. So that is why once Joanna will give back the response based on user input, we will again call the gather route, which will again gather the user input, or it will wait for the user input, and again the gather will call the process speech. So this both API will call each other and make a loop, and in a way the conversation will continue. Now you might ask, there should be a point where we want to break. Yes, that is right, but at the moment we'll just keep it simple, considering that after the conversation user will disconnect the call. But in real life, yes, you want to handle that as well. And then finally, we will return the string response back to the gather. Okay, so finally we create a route called event, and this is the event that will be called from here, the event URL. The event URL is nothing but if you want to control what will happen at the end of the call. For example, in our next part, we'll probably integrate this AI agent with third-party applications or N8N or maybe Calendly. So maybe what you want is once the call is ended, you will get the event as the call has ended. So Twilio ML will make sure to inform you through this event endpoint, and then you will probably call the N8N to send out the message with a Calendly link, or maybe do an appointment booking based on your use case really. I hope that these are all making sense to you. Now, a few things that we need to fix. We need to first define the process message function. So we come here and we define the process message, and we again set the same placeholder message here. Now let's define these 2 methods. where we would use OpenAI or AI to generate the response. Two things that we need to make sure while this AI sales agent is making the communication. One, we need to save the message history so that the AI knows the full context of the conversation. For example, we do not want the AI sales agent to repeat the same question that user have already answered, right? That will not be a human-like conversation. So for that, we need to store the message history and use the message history in the AI response so that AI know what stage of the conversation the AI sales agent in, and based on that it makes the output. And now because this is a web API or it's a Flask-based application, the best place to store the message history is in the session. For that, what we will do, we'll create just a secret key, and then here in the initial message, this is the initial message, that means this method is being called during the start call function calling. So here we are adding a dictionary of message history. Here we are setting the system context and we are saying your name is Sally, you're an expert sales representative at Know Together. Following a customer inquiry via our website, you're initiating a cold call. To progress them further into the sales journey, as you are initiating the call, very briefly introduce yourself. So at this stage, as part of process initial message, we just want our AI agent to introduce herself or itself. Then in the further process message, we want the conversations to go. Now the message history dictionary is defined. Now you remember that this method will receive the customer name and customer business details. So we want the AI response to be curated for that specific user. So that is why we will create a user prompt where we'll just say the customer name and the customer business details as an initial transcript. And then we will append the transcript as role user. So this is the user prompt, and in the user prompt we are providing the customer name and customer business details. So when AI will create the response for the initial message or the introduction phase, it will be fine-tuned and very specific for that customer, because AI would know the customer name and the details that customer have provided. Now, as I said, we need to store this message history in a session. So that is why what we do is we create a session variable of message history and we append this particular information. We do not need this information really, because this is just an initial system prompt. We do not need that. All we need is these details, because based on these details further in the communication, the AI agent can refer the customer by its name or by its business requirement, etc., etc. And then finally, we are calling the OpenAI's endpoint. We are providing the message history, which contains both the system context and the user prompt. And then we specify maximum token as 100, and it will generate the AI response. Once OpenAI responds back, we save it as assistant response. And again, we will add the assistant response into the message history, so that in the next call to the AI, we will pass these details so the AI would know what all communication that is already happened with the user. And when all of these things are done, we will return the assistant response. So basically, if you see the start call, it gets the assistant response and it returns back the assistant response using this response.say method. I really hope these are all making sense to you. In a very similar way, I have created the process message function as well. And I'm going to paste it the whole function here, and I'm going to explain to you. So basically, again, what we are saying is, if the message history is not present in session, then create a session variable, but process message is only going to be called as part of the process speech. So that means in most scenarios, especially in the outbound call scenario, you will have the session variable called message history. It's retrieving the message history from the session variable, and then this is just a kind of a debug statement to print what all content that is there in the message history so far. And here what I'm doing is we are adding another system context, and we are saying you are an expert sales representative. This is the system prompt that will be passed to the OpenAI calling here, so that it reads the message history here, which contains the previous user input and the AI assistant's introductory input, and based on that it will generate a response first time. Now let's say the second time when this method will call, because you have seen the gather and process messages in the loop, then it will know what all conversation has happened, because we are adding that assistant response in this method into the session variable. And again, after the processing, we are just printing out in our log, and then we are returning the assistant response. So this assistant response is being returned as part of the process speech API call. right? One of the things that we want to do is whenever the call is disconnected, we want to clear the message history session variable. The reason is because we don't want the same message history to be used in another person's communication, right? So that is why we have said if the call status is completed, busy or failed, please clear the message history. That's it. So this is our initial AI sales agent, which is ready to be tested with Twilio ML library and Twilio API. Now, before we even go ahead and test it, what we need to do is we need to install something called ngrok. Now, I have already covered about ngrok in some of my previous video. I will attach the link. But basically, ngrok is a reverse proxy. So what will happen is, because this code will run in my local, the way we can make this public, this particular API public, is by using ngrok. If I type here like ngrok http 5000, this will create the public URL. We'll copy that and we'll use it here. So this is the public URL that will be used. And then we also want to set our gather URL here, which will be public URL / gather. And then the event URL is public URL plus event. We also set the process URL as process speech. Okay, so our Twilio AI sales agent is ready for test. So before we go ahead and test it, what we have to do is we have to copy this URL and we need to let Twilio know where our API is hosted. So for that reason, what we have to do is to come to the Twilio console, click on active numbers, click there, click the number that you have, and then here we will specify the URL. So now what will happen is when a calls come in, or if there is any webhook that needs to be called, it knows where to call. So we just save the configuration here. So now we are completely ready to give it a test. So let's test it. Okay, so to test the application, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Postman, and then I'm going to copy this URL and then replace the URL here. I'm providing my name, my phone number, and then the business details. And if I hit send, this should make a call to my phone number and the AI sales agent should work. Let's give it a test. So I'll click send. Okay, I haven't started the application yet. TTS test. I will separately create the requirement txt for you. I have already installed all the requirement files to run this project. So simply I'm just going to say Python Twilio AI sales agent.py. Okay, so now it's running, and now I'm just going to hit send again. Yeah, I should get call, and there you go. I'm getting the call from the Twilios. I just accept it.
You have a trial account. You can remove this message at any time by
okay, so this is because I have a trial account.
any key to execute your
so just hit key.
Hello, Abhijit. This is Sally from Know Together. I see that your company specializes in AI-powered WordPress plugins. I believe we can help streamline your business processes through AI automation. Would you be interested in learning more about our services?
Yeah, sure. I'll be interested.
That's great to hear. Let's schedule a meeting to discuss how our AI automation services can benefit your business. Can you please provide me with your availability so we can set up a meeting through Calendly?
Yeah, I'm free tomorrow.
Great. I'll send you a Calendly link to schedule a meeting for tomorrow. Looking forward to our discussion.
Great, thank you. Bye. Now you may have noticed that the voice output was not really very realistic, right? We want this to be more human-like conversation, so we want more realistic voice, and that is why what we have done is I have created another code which is more production-like, and we are using Elevenlabs API here. And then I have also created a WordPress plugin. If you go to our website, you will be able to see that contact form like plugin here, and this plugin you will provide all the details, and once you click contact us, this should be able to call to your locally hosted AI sales agent. Now let's test it quickly. So let's see if this is running, and then if I hit contact us, I can see the start call method have been called, and then there is this AI agent is calling.
You have a trial account. You can remove this message at any time by upgrading to a full account. Press any key to execute your code.
Yeah, so let's execute it.
This is Sally from Know Together. I understand you're in the software development industry, specializing in AI-powered WordPress plugins. How can we assist you in automating your business processes through AI?
So as you can hear now, this time the voice is a little bit more realistic. I am so sorry to keep the Twilio 11 Labs code behind a very affordable paywall just to help grow and support the cost of creating this kind of tutorial and testing it. If you really want to help me and grow the channel, please make a consideration to use the link below and purchase the code. I promise you this is really affordable, and in the package you will get the entire code where you have both the inbound and outbound sales capability and the step-by-step guide, plus you will get the WordPress plugin which you can use in your WordPress site, and plus any update to the existing code. Plus in the next video we are going to integrate this AI sales agent with custom tool calling like Calendly and all the other things. That will also be included in the same package. For the first 20 members you can use a discount code NOTOGETHER50 and you get a 50% discount. And please note, this is only for the first 20 supporters of this channel. For those of you who have already made a purchase as part of the part 2 codes, you will get all this code for free. You don't need to pay anything extra. So with that said, I'm going to end this video right here. In the next part of the video, as I said, I'm going to integrate this AI sales agent with custom tools where we can call different utilities such as Calendly or N8N, and I will also work on this code to make it more production ready. So you probably, even if you buy the code right now, you will probably see more updates in the future. Thank you for watching the video. If you are getting any value out of the video, please like the video so that it reaches other audience, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.